All right, it's Tuesday, August the 29th of 2023. I actually have the day figured out. Being retired and having two young kids, and I get confused. But anyways, I did post the video as I had promised on Substance Designer, the third one in the series of texturing the brick wall for the dungeon corridor, the damage and or grunge or whatever you want to call it. There is one more video to do, and then we are done those bricks, and that is the cracks and putting all those things together. The tiling pattern of the bricks, that sort of slope, the chipping of the bricks, some damage and some cracks, and of course we got the holes in there as well. That makes this stylized, cartoony brick texture. So I am going to do that last video on the cracks either tonight or tomorrow night for you guys. And then I'm going to show you just a couple of different ways that you could bring it into Substance Painter. All I'm doing it is I'm applying it to the model in Substance Painter. I could probably skip that, but I like to do it that way in case I want to add more stuff and have it in Painter and then into Blender. I'm very close to being done the dungeon scene, and so when I get to showing you that, it'd probably not be in the same video as the Substance Designer one on the cracks. It'd probably be the one after that. When I do show you that, you are going to see pretty much a finished scene. I've got the lighting that I pretty much want. I've got all the models in there. Most of the textures are in there. So what I'll do then is I'll pick up, like I said, I think in my last video, I'll pick up where I think I left you in the modeling, and I'll show you any additional things that I modeled. And if there's anything special, I'll show you how I modeled that. And I'll talk a little bit about my lighting, a little bit about the Blender Compositor, a little bit about how I applied some textures from Designer Substance Painter into Blender, in particular the displacement, so that I could get some rocks on the floor. I may actually have to do, now that I think about it, a separate video on how to slope rocks into the floor and have some deleted, so that there are sort of bricks scattered around and some are missing and some are sloped into the ground and all that. You'll see when I show you what the scene looks like. So yeah, I'll talk you through some of the stuff that I've done, and then we will wrap up the dungeon scene and we'll move on. I just want to say a couple words about the Substance Designer, Substance Painter. You know, for those of you that don't know this yet, these are not free programs. They're not exorbitantly expensive. They're not as expensive as ZBrush, as you would say in the United States, or 3ds Max, or maybe even a subscription to some of the Adobe stuff, although there may be Adobe products. But you can buy standalone versions of them, or you can buy updated ones that update. I just bought the standalone ones on Steam, and I don't know, maybe they're between $150 and $250, depending on, each, if you get them on sale or not. It sounds like a lot of money, but really, years ago, I paid $1,000 for Photoshop CS. You have to pay for good products. It's just the way that it is. Fortunately, Blender is free, but before Blender came around, we had to buy our 3D software, or there was nothing good to use. And so we're lucky that Blender is free and is very powerful. But if you're interested in the industry, and I'm not connected to the industry, you're going to have to learn some other software and eventually invest, I would think, in some things that will bring your artwork to the next level. You can certainly texture in Blender by all means, but not a lot of people are going to be doing that in the industry. They're going to use Substance Painter and Substance Designer for sure. And it's pretty new to me. There's so much to learn and so little time, right? So, if you can swing it somehow, instead of buying a bunch of albums or clothes or a new phone or something like that, invest in Substance Painter, buy the perpetual license, the standalone. You'll never get updates, but you can use it for years. And you'll bring your skills to the next level, learn some other software and integrate that. And that's what I would suggest you do. I think if you're a beginner in Blender, by all means, go with Blender, learn how to model, and that'll never stop. Just because someone can do hard surface, like let's say me, without box cutter or whatever, doesn't mean I can do character modeling or animation or whatever. But, you know, all these things take time. So the idea would be, you know, go ahead, learn what you can and want to in Blender, and start texturing in Blender, shader editor, geometry nodes, all that stuff. You can certainly get some really nice effects in Blender, and but eventually I would think that you'll probably say, well, look, I want to try something else. I want to see what other people are doing with Substance Painter and Substance Designer, and that's going to cost money, and it's going to take time and effort to learn these things. It's going to take experience, and it's not going to come overnight by any means. But that's just, you know, that's my opinion, and so you can take it or leave it. But so therefore, the recent videos that I've been doing on Substance Designer, which, while certainly not very difficult and very advanced, may not appeal to some of you that are coming to my channel for Blender, and I totally understand that, and I don't want you to feel that I've left you behind, because we are going to be doing a lot more Blender. This is when it comes to the texturing, you can go off your way and texture it in Blender, or Substance Painter, you have it, and not Substance Designer, or whatever you like. All right. I mean, for a long time, I would just model and use a nice matte cap or just an ambient occlusion. I mean, I saw early in the day, I saw tons of just ambient occlusion renders of spacecraft on the moon and Jeeps and all these things. And it looked fantastic. There's nothing wrong with doing that and just not doing any of the materials. All right. That's fine. It's going to look really cool. Get good at modeling. You don't have to make it grungy unless you really want to, and can. So, all right, stuff's coming up. Lots of stuff to talk about, and I'm so glad you're tuning in. Take care.